go. All right, yeah, that helped, making it darker back there. Okay, it's just taking its time to connect. And there we go, to YouTube. Excellent. Yay, here we are.
Hey.
All right. Okay, great. And I've got the chat up. So we are good to go. All right, my dear. Okay, everyone. Welcome back to Everything Horses and More podcast. You all know who I am, Caroline Best, founder of the Horsemanship and Dream Riding Partnership Program. And today I have a very special guest, dear friend and student of mine, Sherry Skure. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Caroline. Great to be
Hi.
here.
Yes, yay. Thank you. Today's topic, I think this is near and dear to many of us, is your perfectionism paralyzing your horsemanship? So I know for a fact that is a big topic for a lot of students. I'm just going to give you guys a quick intro. Sherry resides in Boulder, Montana, where she provides transformative equine assisted experiential learning, equine assisted therapy, and horsemanship coaching at her ranch, Heart Connections Horsemanship. And you can reach, and I'll provide all this information on YouTube, on Facebook, in my podcast directory. You can reach Sherry on her website, www.hchorsemanship.com. And then Facebook, you can look for Heart Connections Horsemanship on Facebook. So welcome, my dear.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to let you begin. And as you all know, real quick, you know how my podcasts go. It's a conversation. Definitely want to give as much education as possible to those of you in regards to the topic. But I want Sherry to lead the way here, and then we'll just go back and forth, my dear.
Okay. Thank you so much, Caroline. I am so thrilled. I have been a student of yours for a few years, several years, and it's been a start-stop experience for me. And I did an immersion with you in Florida. It was fantastic, life-changing.
Yes.
Um, I found your program through YouTube because I was looking for, I was having difficulty in my life at the time and, looking for spiritual philosophies to help ground me and also wanting to connect the dots between what I knew to be the energetic way of being that I wanted to embody and the practicality of training horses and teaching horses and doing horsemanship things. You can probably tell on my wall back there, I do archery and I was getting into horseback archery. And, I just needed a way of being with my horses that was going to integrate those goals with the way of being. And I found you on YouTube and I was so excited. So
Yay!
I joined the mastery membership program and I dived in and
And
then life happens, right?
yes, life happens. And I'm not being rude to interrupt. I just want to add these tidbits. It's a big program, and it's not, how do I want to put it? You guys, when you join my Mastery Riding Foundation program, which I've renamed Dream Riding Partnership Program, but it's the same. When you join that, it is an apprenticeship program. It is an advanced study in all things horses. And most of all, it's an advanced study in the foundation of riding. And it's not just about riding. You're starting with the relation, the connection piece, the bond, and how do you take that into everything you do? And it's got a curriculum, and the curriculum offers a guide, a roadmap, step-by-step lessons. So you start with the relationship and the energy connection and the spirituality course. Then it goes into the groundwork and the liberty and the art of lunging, which is so important. And then getting permission from your horse to get on and what that looks like and how valuable that is to your safety and your true partnership. And then the riding, you can take the riding as far in my program as second level dressage, bitless and balanced, if you so choose, in a bareback pad. And I'm bringing all of that up to support you because and support all of my students in the program. It's a big venture. You don't realize when you purchase it what you're getting into, no matter how much I try to explain. And I have since, I'm always upgrading and adding things and taking criticism and doing the best that I can to make this as easy of a process. But it is an education. This is not something that you can just pick up here and there when you want. You literally need to be committed to this on some level. And I know for a fact that that can be very overwhelming and very intimidating. And that's where, we're going to dive into today, because all of my students that choose this program are very successful individuals, just like yourself. You've had a very successful career, you have beautiful children, you look at your life, you're living your dream. And so what's happening, all these areas, and we all grow, nothing's perfect. I hate that word perfect. It is what it is. How do we find happiness and contentment in it is what it is?
Absolutely. I love that. And that is what it is what I found to be my challenge. As you've pointed out, this perfectionistic, when you're a successful person and you've experienced the work
Master.
that it takes, yes, the work that it takes to succeed and have that mastery, and then you try to have that life balance with your horsemanship and moving through the program, and your coaching was really helpful in, but it was something I had to find inside. Like you say, the learning really comes from inside, was to be okay with what is and what shows up, and still progress without being paralyzed by the fear that, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. I can't do this the way I have this goal in my mind, and I'm so far from this. And so that's what I'm hopeful we can talk about today,
Yeah.
because that's paralyzing when you get into
Let
that
me ask you
perfectionistic
this.
fear.
Let me ask you this as I'm listening and things are coming up, and I'm being a coach right now for all of you. Let me ask you this. I know for myself, I can speak for all of us. Horses are so dear to our heart. We have such an emotional attachment. It has nothing to do with how successful we want to be in riding or whatever. It's just the fact that we love them so much, and we yearn. It's almost like a subconscious, unconscious part of our soul. We yearn for this connection to ourselves via the horse as a means or bridge. And I'm bringing this up because whenever we have an attachment, it can be very unhealthy, and the ego can really get attached to that as well. Because it's like most of my students are all high achievers. They're all type A personalities. They're excellent at multitasking and taking charge of their life. Most of them. And if not, they're women coming back to horses, and wanting something that relates to the spirituality of their life. Like they want the horsemanship that balances or supports the spirituality of where they want to be in the mechanics. So I'm just thinking as we're talking, when you look at your life, and I'm asking you personally, and this could be for all of you, you're college educated. Did you get your master's?
Very close to it, but
Mhm.
no.
That's okay. But then how many years, you have a retirement, you were with a company. What did you do in your former, your career?
Right. Well, okay. I was in the military for Reserve and National Guard, and I was a
Thank
captain, and I had a
you.
commission and a leadership position. At the same time, I was raising a family. At the same time, I had a career as a bill drafter for the Montana legislature, nonpartisan position, very stressful, high performance required, and I did that for 30 years.
Yes. So, and most of the women that find me, you've got this duality in your life, this spirituality, and then you're ass kickers. Like you've either owned your own business or you've been where you are, raising a family, like multiple things, raising a family, stressful, high profile job, plus you were in the military. I mean, insane. And now you get to like, why
Right.
can't you just master this horsemanship? What's so challenging about
It
this?
just, it just,
It
right,
is challenging
exactly.
though, because you're dealing. So listen, when you guys really, when you join my program, you're learning how to become a therapist, a psychiatrist. You really are. This is not easy. Horses are not easy. Now, we want it to be easy. Yeah, it can become easy, but you have to learn how to get into the easy. And you're dealing with another sentient being. And it's it's so complicated because we have such an emotional attachment to the horse for various reasons. And they're very personal. And, that's a whole nother podcast where I believe our horses have already chosen us. They're just waiting for us to discover them. And they are our spirit guides. I so absolutely hands down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Every horse that I have ever been a caretaker and a guardian of, I do not like the word owned, is been a facet of me, where I am in my life or where I want to be. And I have many horses. So and you do too. You have several horses. So there's that journey in and of itself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you said something that was super important, I think, for this whole topic of perfectionism and learning how to trust the process, because I knew in my heart and soul that I needed to change from being the analyst, because in the military, that's what I did too, military intelligence and analyst. And the horses grounded me and they brought me into a balance in my spiritual inner being. And I knew how important that was. And as you say, you're so attached to the outcome, or you're like, oh man, I
That's
can't
how
make a
your brain's
mistake
been
with my
hardwired.
horse.
You've got to give yourself a break. So I talk a lot about rewiring, resetting the nervous system in horses and humans, and my program does both. You're rewiring your brain. You are an analyst. And this is you have been programmed through whether behavior, the way you were raised and what you were, again, how we get attached to our careers is often just what comes the easiest for us, analytically, the way our brain works, but also the way that we've been conditioned as children in our family dynamic, what's expected of us. So here you go into an analytical field your entire life. Well, you do the reality is you do have to change and rewire your brain, go from linear to nonlinear.
Yes.
Why you're beating yourself up about this and making it very personal, like what's wrong with me? Why am I such a perfectionist? Look at it like this. You've spent your life having to be a perfectionist in your career and in the responsibilities in the military field that you chose. And then of course being a mom. So you're being really hard on yourself. And I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole. Why are you being hard on yourself? I'm sure there's family dynamics that come into play for all of
Mhm.
us, how we've been
Mhm.
conditioned without realizing as children, how we think and how we feel. And what you're now learning with horses is it isn't so linear. We do have a roadmap. We do want to get from here to there, but how we get there is the most important element of this,
Oh
right?
my gosh, the how, the way, the Tao. Oh, Caroline, this is so good because exactly what I was doing. So when I retired and was able to, which was a whole nother story as to why I had to retire after having a brain injury, concussion. I had to rewire. And my brain, I had to learn the neural pathways had to be retrained. And this process of how we get there and rewire is what got me into experiential learning with the horses.
Yes.
Why it has to be an experience and why your program is like the foundation of learning. The human needs to learn how to breathe, how to be in the stillness of the moment, how to ground that energy. And your work in that spirituality of horsemanship foundation is like whatever human, because we all have trauma.
Mm-hmm.
We all need to learn to rewire our nervous system from
Yes.
this
We don't
Western
realize that, but
culture
we
we
do.
have.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, so the challenge is, Caroline, and what I'm hopeful that you have all these wonderful tips for us, is that as the pendulum swings, back to being a way of being, how to then stay consistent and on track in a program that you're saying, okay, linear versus nonlinear, but we have to have the foundation and go through the process and trust the process.
I do have
But
an
at the
answer for that.
same time, we
I have
need the
an easy
way.
answer. I have a really easy answer. So, how many of us are familiar with either ourselves or people that we know and love that have addiction? Addiction,
Mm,
addiction can be in anything from alcohol to drugs to addiction to being just obsessed. Like things have to be a certain way. So let's talk about addiction. When you have addiction and it's ruining your life, you go to a rehab center. And rehab centers are they're designed to begin at 90 days. They don't begin at 30 because we know through science and we know through cognitive pattern recognition, we know through research, and we're not even talking about drugs and what they do to our nervous system and the dopamine effect. We're just talking in the addiction to the dopamine effect that's released through the drugs. We're just talking about the fact that we need a 90-day program to begin to reset and rewire not just the nervous system, but like you just said, the
mm,
neural pathways, if
right.
not more time. The answer is this is what I'm fighting in my industry. This is one of the reasons why I'm a pioneer in my industry, because I am one of the only in my industry that offers a program and is trying to. I am up against everybody else out there that is feeding you guys these quick fixes. Come join my $30 a month monthly subscription and come look at and I have the same thing, but I will be the first one to tell you that all of my videos and all of them are an extension of my program. If you want to learn the how-to, you must learn the building blocks in my program. You're not going to get from point A to point Z by joining my video library. You're not going to get it by joining one of my online courses. You must join the foundation program. So what's happening out there is the market, the industry in equine training, whether it's YouTube or you're joining this short course, 8-week course. There is no 8-week course on horsemanship. You can't learn everything in 8 weeks. You can't learn everything in 12 weeks. So I'm getting back to the fact that when we want to learn something, and we want to truly rewire our nervous system, and all of our horses have damage like we do. And 98% of our horses need their nervous systems completely rewired. We have got to join we have got to do something for 90 days. And that's every day. Every day, what can we do that is going to support that foundation, that learning and that education? And that's what the program, when you go back into the program, now that you've stepped away from it, and there's a lot of you that have joined, like you, Sherry, that come back. Haley in South Africa, she posted something in the private Facebook group earlier this year because she'd emailed me and I said, oh, please, Haley, share that with the group. So she joined like 5 years ago when it first launched, the big program. And she was a diehard like everyone else for a year or so. Then her mom had passed away. She had gotten married. Life gets in the way. So instead of coming back to the program, because she knew how much time it was going to take and how intensive to restart, she started studying others out there, other big names. And 2 years later, she comes back to the program and she understands the value of it and jumps back into it, picking up right where she left off. She didn't have to restart because she did put time into it in the beginning. So my answer is you've got to put the time into it. You can't just pick and pull, and you can't go and the program's not designed, it's designed for you guys to really immerse yourself in. And I think when you guys step into it and you don't make it a habit, and that's the beauty of a 90-day, addiction rehab center, is they're forcing you, can't force you to stay there, but they're trying their best to change your habits and to rewire you. And does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting, Caroline, because as you talk about that, and maybe others of your students have the same thing happening in them.
Yes.
So I'm at a place where I'm hitting those, I don't know, those unconscious triggers that you talk about in your blog, which is another thing that I really loved. People that focus on the goal at the expense of the process. And sometimes you feel so far away and you're afraid because you have this attachment to your horses of making that mistake. And one of the things that I pulled out of your blog was, one of the things that keeps us paralyzed is this fear that we're going to mess it up for our horses because we're such a mess ourselves. Because once I started having more self-awareness and doing the spiritual work, and then being able to connect with my horses and realizing, oh my gosh, I have to breathe. My system needs a whole reset. I'm so far away. What if I screw this up?
Let me
I got to do
simplify
this
this.
other work first.
You're okay. You're overwhelming yourself, and you're taskmaster. You are taskmaster. Okay, so let's step back and take one task at a time. I can promise you, when you trust my process, that when you dedicate every day to my meditation, you dedicate every day, because my meditation in my program, you can do sitting in front of the computer. You can do driving your car. You can do anywhere. And when you watch all of my videos, whether they're on YouTube or in the program, I am always standing in a grounded position. You always see me there. That is where I begin. That is my ability to feel the space, tune in, and assess. What do I feel? What do I see? What's going on? And how does it resonate within me? The reason why I'm bringing this up is in order to heal from trauma, we've got to come from that place. And it is a very unconscious, subconscious therapy. It's not talk therapy. I don't want you to sit here and talk about it to nauseum with me or with anyone, because all you're doing is retriggering yourself. It's so a lot of talk therapy, for the most part, is no different than desensitizing the horse. You're just flooding yourself with the things you're afraid of. I'm coming at it through the program on a subconscious, unconscious level. Okay, where when you do the breath work, the meditation, and you do it throughout your day, every day. There's no excuse. You can do it in your pajamas. You can do it in the shower. You can do it anywhere. All you need to do is become attuned to that breath work, aware of the breath work and how you're feeling it in your body. In and of itself, I know for a fact, because I've worked with thousands of horses and humans, I know for a fact that when you continue to do this breath work, it works organically and unconsciously. It works to release trapped emotions. We don't need to talk about it. And when you do this work, you are going to cry. You're going to cry big time, and you're not going to know why, but that's a beautiful thing, because you are letting go tension and adrenaline that has been stored in you for God knows how many years. You want to cry. So when you get worried and you start, self-doubting yourself, you need to do the breath work. When I was suffering from panic attacks, here's an example as a teenager, and that's how I learned this. When I was suffering from acute panic attacks that were so disabling, I became catatonic. Okay. So before going catatonic, I was passing out, and my boyfriend was picking me up and blacking out completely in school. So I was a horse that completely froze. I was so overwhelmed. My nervous system was so overwhelmed by the flooding of emotions that I didn't know how to read or understand. So my body, I flooded my nervous system. Okay. So when I started to learn, and I couldn't talk therapy, I'd pass right out. So my therapist at the time was amazing, obviously, because she's like, okay, I'm going to give you a book on meditation, and your first book on Taoism, and your in Chinese philosophy and Chinese Eastern medicine. And so that was my introduction. And within a few months, I was able to speak. So my speaking is no different than your negative self-talk, all of you. Your negative self-talk overwhelms you. It grabs hold of you, people, and it keeps you, it paralyzes you. Just like me wanting to understand what I was feeling as a teenager paralyzed me. It shut my system down completely. It paralyzed me too, completely. So you have to trust me when I say, and it took me months to do this breath work. And it was not the Taoist reverse breath work. It was a different type, but similar meditation. But the beauty of it was every time, Sherry, I started to get overwhelmed and I could feel myself get red in the face and sweat and I'm getting ready to get lightheaded and pass out, I would start breathing. And I got better and better at it so that I could be more proactive. Like I could start thinking about things instead of waiting for all of the physical signs of when I was being flooded. I could start breathing before that happened. And so that was the second phase. The third phase was now I could breathe while I was feeling what I was feeling and I would no longer pass out, and then I could begin to communicate and talk about what I was feeling.
Mm, I
There
see.
is a process. What I just explained to you guys is no different than all of you. When you've got this negative self-talk, which is self-sabotaging, you've got to breathe into it. You've got to focus on the breath and get the hell out of your head. Because it's that point blank. When the hell are you going to say, I'm done with this? You negative self-talk, you go to hell. You go up somewhere, I'm going to compartmentalize you and I'll deal with you later. And later could be months from now. Right now, I'm going to take care of me. And I don't know, I've never done this before. This could be so many of you. I don't know what Caroline's talking about. I don't really know how to breathe. Well, you better figure it out. You've got it in the program. The Taoist Reverse Breathwork is the number one exercise the only one that I believe in, especially as a rider, wanting to be a good rider because of the way that the reverse breath is opening up the inside of you and releasing tension. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. I thank you. Because that is exactly where our own worst critics and that negative self-talk is that
And you
unconscious
need
trigger.
coaching. You need
Mhm.
support. I'm here, whatever. The new year, I can do a support group for you guys, a private support group for the members in the program. And maybe that's what I'll mention. Let me write that down in our private Q&A webinar on the Facebook page, November 22nd, is I couldn't have done this by myself. I needed an expert to come in and save my ass. And I know I was a teenager, not an adult. I didn't obviously have wisdom or years of experience trying to figure these things out on myself, but it's invaluable. And so, we want to be able to attune with our horse. We want to be able to connect with our horse. I just did a webinar last night on it, on my 4 key principles to all of my work. I have many principles, but these 4 key principles are attunement, grounding, energy connection, and dwell time. You can't even in the way I teach and what I believe in with horsemanship, you can't even begin to train a horse till you start with those principles. But those principles are for us too. How do we attune to ourselves? Do we give ourselves permission? Do we forgive ourselves? You spoke about, which I know is dear to all of our hearts. What if I make a mistake? And I talk all the time about how I made so many mistakes learning, and I don't like to call them mistakes. We're going to change that language to opportunities, opportunities to be a better version of ourselves, to do better, to learn. How about just learn? Why be so hard on ourselves? It's an opportunity to learn what not to do. Let your horse be, your answer. Let them tell you when things are working or not working so that we don't push past, and just focus on the goal and then make our horse do what we want them to do, instead of asking them and them joining us in that true partnership, which is what keeps us safe. When a horse considers you and wants you, they'll protect you like a
Mhm.
baby, like family. It's that magical. And I want you guys to experience that, but you've got to start with yourself. And the attunement is no different than when I was learning the meditation. There were 3 phases. The first one was I would pass out, so I didn't even know. Oh, you want me to breathe? Well, I'm breathing. Oh my God, I'm thinking, I'm being flooded, I'm being flooded, I'm being flooded, I'm being flooded. Keep breathing, but you got to breathe correctly. This isn't just breath work. This is specific breath work. You got to know how to do this breath work. So you just keep breathing and you keep breathing, you keep focusing on attuning to your body and what you feel in your body. It is a somatic experience. So
Mhm.
you get out of your head. I mean, it doesn't get any more black and white. You get that this breath work took me out of my head, which was flooding my nervous system. So different than your self-talk, than everybody else's negative self-talk. You just start breathing. You go, isn't this interesting? I'm going to breathe into this. I'm going to breathe in, hold, and exhale. And I'm going to keep doing it until I feel grounded. I feel good.
Yeah.
So you're
And
replacing adrenaline with endorphin, and hopefully the dopamine effect takes place.
that is so key, Caroline. Thank you. And it's interesting to me as I reflect on how I've been able to can really connect with that part, and I'm ready for the growth. And this, it's exciting to be able to talk to you about the next steps now, because being able then to take that into a task, into doing the horsemanship things and
Mechanics, yeah.
the mechanics of it, and then being able to do the mechanics with while you're carrying this new way of being. And when you talk about that holistic, the mindset change, um, the neurons and the pathways, I mean, it is somatic, it's holistic. It's not, I can't just change my thoughts. I have to change
Your nervous
my
system.
whole nervous system.
Yep.
Yes. So
This is
that
the
when I'm
theology.
approaching, yes, so that I'm approaching that task of doing the lunging, and so that when I recognize I need to do this better, or I have a growth opportunity, and it feels somatic, because of those unconscious triggers, it feels like a mistake. Oh my gosh, I blew it. Oh, I'm not good at this. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then just to say, oh, smile, breathe. It's okay. It's just feedback. There is no such thing as a mistake.
So I'm going
That's
to,
actually a change of my nervous system
yes, it is.
to get
When
there.
you change your nervous system, you will no longer even think like that. So Dr. Wayne Dyer, his famous quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So we're going to change from the inside out. And that has nothing to do with what we're thinking. It has everything to do with what we're feeling. So what an example of that, and you what you just explained and expressed about you doing the lunging and what happens is what happens to everyone, Sherry. Everyone has a hard time because in our culture, we are already, as a human being, as a species, we are predatorial, which makes us hardwired to be linear. We go after what we want. Yeah, now we're dealing with a nonlinear being, the horse, a prey animal. They're all nonlinear. They don't zero in on anything, they zero in on everything. They feel and see everything because that's an opportunity for escape and survival, should they feel
Mhm.
threatened.
Mhm.
So now where I'm headed with this is when you just start from the beginning, do the breath work. It will change everything. It will change the physiology of you, which is basically your nervous system. And then how your nervous system, like the horse, it connects to the brain. And as you know, it changes the neural pathways in the brain. And when you get into the breath work and do it correctly, it slows everything down. Now, this is the magic. This is the magic. When things slow down, you're in the moment. You're present. When you're in the moment and you're present with your horse doing the task, 99% of the time, you'll catch things before they happen. You'll
Mhm.
see and you'll feel what happens before it happens. So the opportunity of making mistakes really never happens anymore
Mhm.
because you'll go, I'm going to go in slow motion right now. I've just sent my horse out and my horse isn't going out. So I'm going to support that request with follow-up aids. And I'm coming on too strong. Whoop, felt that one. And I took it away.
Mhm.
And the horse was ready to react, but was sucked right back into that ebb and flow with you as you took it away.
Mhm.
Slowing down is the magic.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's the magic. Everybody wants attunement. Everybody wants to be present. Everybody wants to be aware. Slow down.
Mhm.
Slow the mind down. So that's why this is such an organic process. When you slow the nervous system down and the body's craving for that newfound breath work, what does it do to the brain? Slows that down too.
Rewires.
The brain's
Mhm.
going to be second instead of first now.
Mhm.
And you just feel
Absolutely.
better. You're releasing endorphin and replacing the adrenaline, the tension that the mind creates in the body with endorphin. You get really good at this, and I call it the nirvana effect. It is the dopamine effect.
Mhm.
Dr. Stephen Peters writes about this, leading neuroscientist for the human brain and leading neuroscientist for the equine brain. And he is quite the horseman himself. I found out about him years ago. He loves Martin Black. Martin Black, oh my gosh, my dad and I, Martin's my age or older, our age, 50s, 60s. So I knew about Martin Black back in Western Horseman 30 years ago, but we didn't know of Dr. Peters. But Dr. Peters talks about dwell time, and he has some
Mhm.
fascinating articles, the leading research on dwell time, the importance of it, as
Mhm.
well as the dopamine effect and what happens, that, what's triggered in the brain that creates the want from the horse, the want, the person. This is like with addicts. We're trying to replace the heroin, the dopamine that's created in the drug. We're trying to replace that. I mean, the addiction is in the DNA. So it's, we're just trying to replace it with a healthy, the healthy chemical within our brain, the dopamine. But dopamine is that's the hook. That's the
Mhm.
hook for the horse. When the horse feels that good around you and it's always a dopamine effect, then that's what you see with me and my horses. And it's easier said than done, but it's done through the work. It's done through the work.
Absolutely.
We don't
And
just get there by loving each other to death. We get there by rewiring the nervous system and connecting in that energy.
so perfect. Caroline, so when you were teaching about connection and how horses seek that connection, that they're wired for connection. And as I connected the dots with what your
Energy
program
connection,
was, energy
relationship and
connection,
energy, both. Yes.
and how important that is to the horse. And then in that whole realm of addiction, as people talk about what is, how do you break addictions? Well, connection is it's not it is what heals the addiction. Connection is more important than that addiction. That's what we seek, in all these unhealthy ways. But trauma, addiction, those things that are negative outcomes for us break the neural circuitry. We damage that neural circuitry. And when I had my concussion and I was trying to learn about how to repair, and how to get back on track and more about my nervous system, I learned a lot about the connection, and I was led there by a lot of the things that you were teaching, because and that's where I got into the trauma therapy aspect of things, because the work with the horses, outside of trying to teach a horsemanship program, I was working with experiential learning and with a mental health therapist and some trauma recovery, and understanding that our nervous systems get broken or damaged or wounded. That's the
And stuck.
trauma.
And they get stuck too.
And the horses, being with the horses, learning to breathe with the horses, again, not teaching a horsemanship program per se, but teaching about connection with the horse, helps repair. Like you said, every time you're with the horse, your nervous system and that neural circuitry is getting repaired. The neurons that fire together wire together, and you have to rewire. So every experience you're having with that horse is helping you rewire that nervous
Yes.
system. And so that's the
Well,
experiential learning part.
in the heart coherence, we have yet to talk about the connection of the heart
Right.
coherence. So, Math Institute, as I write all the time in so many of my blogs, and it's in your program. It's also the heart. When we're talking about connection and healing, animals, without getting into the rabbit hole of this, Dr. Phil did a great program many years ago, and he's a leading expert in many things, whether you like him or not. It doesn't matter. Just listen to this for a second, though. And he was dealing with children that are abandoned, like in Russia or third world countries where, the woman becomes pregnant and she drops the baby off at an orphanage. So when children are not handled, and these are animals too, especially horses, because they're such sentient beings. When infants are not handled up until the age of 3, it literally damages certain parts of the brain because they are not getting that emotional connection. So when you're talking about connecting and healing, there's also an emotional component. And it has nothing to do in therapy with horses. It has nothing to do with the person, loving the horse or that horse being their horse. It has to do with heart coherence, though, and the feel good. Again, how do we rewire the nervous system? We rewire it with an endorphin release and dopamine. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the place of rest and digest and calm and relaxation and feeling safe. The opposite is adrenaline and tension. Then we are all, horses included, in our sympathetic nervous system of self-preservation mode. So with trauma, we're in self-preservation mode. And what we're trying to do is get to a place where the parasympathetic nervous system overrides the sympathetic. And so until we get there, we are all in a state of imbalance, horses and humans. And especially horses, because they're so intelligent emotionally and socially. So we've deprived them of so much of what they need by domesticating them. And that's such a lack of education, and that's a whole nother topic. So getting yourself back into that parasympathetic, here we go to my program. It's been designed through the movement exercises to get you guys aligned, to get you in that parasympathetic nervous system. It's not easy. Most of the horses are going to flip out, especially if you round pen them or lunge them.
Just lost you.
Oh, I'm still here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So I can't.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
There we go.
We're back.
Yeah. Okay. It happens. You just never know. But it's all recorded. So you can listen back to this. But I'm just talking about getting your, it's kind of like fake it till you make it. It's pushing yourself in a healthy way to get back into these tasks and finding your way. Include the breath work when you go into the building blocks of lunging. You don't just jump into lunging, you dissect the lesson and grab the building blocks. You work on the first building block to my lunge, which is backing the horse away from you. You work on that. Then you work on the send. And then you work on a quarter circle and you work on the energy, pushing out and aligning and pulling back in and stopping. So you work on the pieces. It's so much easier, to backtrack is like a process of elimination. Like if the backing's not going well, and I say this in my Art of Lunging course number 3, if the backing's not well, nothing else is going to work. So, here's the mechanics, but how do you integrate this way of being? You go a lot slower. When you're an overachiever like yourself, and you're a task manager and you've done it. You know how to get stuff done in an exemplary time and excellence. But horses, that's not what it's about. It's about the process. We say the journey. So take your time to be in that moment of asking your horse to back. Those moments, what does it look like? What does it feel like in your body? How does your horse show up? How do you meet your horse's needs? So that's how you get, you care so much about your horse, and I know you do. So just spend more time taking your time.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. That helps me so much because as you're talking, what's occurring to me is, well, and I wrote down some of these notes from your tips on your blog last night because so when you said in your blog getting more focused on the goal than the process at the expense of the process, I kind of reflected for us perfectionist types that have been in the world and done all of these task-oriented things. the truth is I'm recovering from the trauma of that
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle was get the mission done at all costs, soldier through,
Mhm.
no time for feelings here. We got to get the mission accomplished, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then your fight flight nervous system or shutdown nervous system is going, oh my God, this is life and death. And then you're in a high-powered legislative services. If you don't get that bill drafted, it's not going to be on the floor to be debated, to be signed by the governor.
It's
Ba 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 ba
emotional.
ba.
That's huge emotional
It's
stress. Huge.
yes. So I loved that you said what you said, because I tended to, when I dive into your program, I love how it's laid. I love all the linear, but the nonlinear processing. You're marrying it together, and yet I see, oh my gosh, if I were to do a goal, my goal is to ride bitless and bridleless on the beach at night with the full moon and the aurora borealis and the horses breathing, and I'm like, okay, Sherry, is that really your goal? And when you said the process, I was like, no, my goal is what that feels like. My goal is what that feels like. So when you said that, I went, yes. So I can do the lunging, the backing, the program, and go, oh, I'm having that feeling. I don't have to be riding bitless and bridleless right now, because here I am.
But that
I'm
is
experiencing it right
natural.
here.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. It's like that's our big dream for so many of us, is what you just said. And how does that make you feel? Well, you want to feel that way every day. You're not waiting for that big dream anymore, guys. You can experience this every day because it is a feeling and it is so foreign. I understand how foreign this may sound. And even to you, Sherry, and thank you for being so candid and vulnerable about, yeah, the trauma in your career, and no one traumatized you. It wasn't abusive, but the reality is that type of career is extremely damaging to the nervous system. It's high impact, it's tension, it's pressure, it's self-esteem. If you don't get this done, you could be fired. I mean, it's everything. And you're working towards a pension and a retirement plan. All of that is so important. You got to stick in there, man. You got to get that. I get that. That's nice at our age to have a retirement like
Yeah.
that. Hell yeah, you worked hard for that. So it is
Mhm.
going to take time for you to just sit back and pat yourself on the back and breathe and rewire your nervous system and give
Well,
yourself grace and permission.
the grace and permission. And I remember some of the coaching sessions, and we've only had a few because I've had this start stop thing. And I'm just so grateful to feel your support and love for us that are out here going, oh gosh, I got to start again. I lost 3 horses in
No,
the course of your
me too.
program.
I know. That's a lot of heartache. I understand. Yep.
But I remember you coaching me on one of the small things I was doing with one of my new horses, Romeo, and saying, Sherry, you're trying to make up for lost time. And I was going, yeah, I'm rushing it because, man, you know, I'm looking at the goal and I'm not trusting that the process is the goal. The rewiring of my nervous system, the
And
new
feel,
relationship, and feeling into it. So even if I'm just doing the send and the draw to the sending and the drawing,
yeah,
I'm at the goal. If I'm breathing,
you're in the moment
if I'm in the moment,
with your horse.
I'm then I can go, I don't have to make up for lost time because it isn't
You're
about,
right where you are. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're right where you are. And it does, and when we can get to this place, it will get easier. Everything will get easier. You will get to that. There's nothing wrong with having a goal. I have goals every day. I have business goals, I have personal goals, and I have horsemanship goals. There's nothing wrong with that unless it takes over you and exhausts me, exhausts you, stresses us out. then something has to give.
Hmm.
And then we have to come back to a place of neutrality, or a place of where we can give back to ourselves. And yeah, let me in the one thing I want to bring up too, and of course you can interrupt me as we spoke earlier, if you have a thought. I'm going to talk for a little bit, and if something comes up, say, Caroline, Caroline, Caroline. That brings me to this thought. So in the program, I have a section for all of you, because this is for all of us: fixed mindset versus a growth mindset.
Hmm.
This is really important. This is also a big piece of why we do get, why our perfectionism, for the lack of a better word, is paralyzing us anywhere in our life. We're going to use horsemanship. And I choose the word adaptiveness. And I say this often in my horsemanship videos. How flexible are we? How flexible are we when we have a goal, and something happens, the horse changes, or the day gets in the way, or life gets in the way? Like all of you, I've had human deaths, animal beloved deaths. I've had cancer in my family. I've had so much in the last few years, and I'm just coming myself out of the other side of this year, 2024. And it was some dark years for me. And I know what it's like when you have to pause. You have to pause your life. I have to pause my career. I'm just coming back in after a couple of years. I mean, sure, I still did podcasts, but I wasn't really doing anything active with my business. And so, coming back into it, what, and I'm so grateful for that, because it was such a learning opportunity on so many levels for me. And the thing that I kept telling myself through all of the darkness was, trust the process, follow your own advice, believe in yourself, Caroline, and sit with the uncomfortable. I don't have an answer. I cannot push through this. I'm too exhausted and I'm too overwhelmed. I must sit with this. It is what it is. But it doesn't mean I lose sight of where I want to be. That's my goal. But I've got to go with the flow, because I can no longer control or navigate through what I was going through. It's no different when you feel overwhelmed with your horse. And you ask your horse to do something, and all of a sudden they do something completely different, and it scares you, or it's an extreme behavior and you don't know how to handle that behavior. And so often, again, our society teaches us to grab hold and control everything. When I come, in contact with a horse for the first time, and they have a lot of fear and a lot of extreme behaviors, I'm not here to make anything happen. I'm here to get information. And even though, and this is for all of you, so when you start my program, it's going to push a lot of buttons, because it's here to unravel. It's here to build you back and build your horse back, but it must break you down. It must break down old habits. It's like the military. It must break down. I come from a big Marine family. It's breaking down old habits and building back better, newer, positive habits that are supporting you personally, supporting your horse personally. So when you think about it like that, then it's like changing your mindset. You got to think about it and allow it, and go, wow, I asked you to back up and you completely exploded on me, or you did something I absolutely didn't expect. And we often feel vulnerable, and then we go to frustration, like, what do I do about this? I should do something about it. I don't do anything about it. I look at the horse and I go, huh, isn't that interesting? Thank you for showing me how you feel.
Oh, I
Now,
love
what do
that.
I
Yeah.
do with that? How do I help you, horse, feel better about what I asked you to do? How do I help you feel better? So I come from a place of compassion. And you all need to come from a place of compassion for yourself. You're learning. You're learning how to train, how to develop, how to rehabilitate your horse.
Oh, Caroline, I thank you for bringing this up, because I have so many. I'm going to pick one story. I have another story, but I'm going to pick the one I guess I wrote about with you is when I had Freya, and she and I reached out to you for some coaching with her because she was so scared every time I would just pick up the carrot stick. I mean, it was or the lunge whip, and she would just freak out and she would just start running around. And then she had this behavior where as soon as I would reach my hand towards her head, she would just throw it. And I was at a point, and she was kind of a rescue. And so when I got her, there was a broken halter on her, and it took me a while to even get the halter off of her. And then I would just let her be. But I remember you telling me, so I wasn't making progress with her. And you looked at me on the video and you said, Sherry, you need to show up for her. And we talked about this and made me cry the rest of the day. But it's the fear of triggering, and we fear triggering ourselves as well. And that perfectionistic thing, we're afraid of the tears, we're afraid of not being in control.
Yeah, and how do
And I
you feel?
didn't want to trigger her. And
Mhm.
yet when you coached me through that and said, don't you be there for her when she's triggered, stay grounded, allow her to do it and say, thank you for letting me know how you feel. I'm here for you. I'm going to show up for you. I'm I'm not going to walk on eggshells around you. I'm going to help you. The trust that was built with Freya after that was incredible.
It's mind
And
blowing.
it was mind blowing.
And it
So I'm
had
so
nothing to
grateful
do
for
with
that.
technique. It had nothing to do with technique. Forcing the horse to submit or desensitizing had nothing. It is such a higher level of consciousness. I'll never find the words. I don't think we can find words for what happens when those those situations happen, because it literally transcends us into a whole nother realm of being and connecting and communicating with a horse without verbal language, without action. It is like as if they can completely understand through our heart how what we are saying. It changes everything.
It
Everything.
changed everything. And I thought, this is huge. This was so huge for me. And then, she turned a corner. She trusted everything to the point that she just did obstacle courses without ever me having to do hardly anything. There was no
Without training
training.
her. Yes.
It was trust. And
Yes.
if we can learn through the process of your program to work through the perfectionism, because I really think the trauma that and those unconscious triggers behind the perfectionism is what holds us back, this fear of failure.
You do have to
And
work through it though. You have to push yourself. This is where you need all of us, a healthy level of pushing. As a rehab specialist, I get to make this happen for the horse. And I'm going to say this in a positive way. I can force it and I can make it. I can force it in a compassionate way. You know why I can force it? Because I can say, horse, we're going out today and we're going to work on this. That's how I force it. And that's the only force I use besides forced love. But I can't force you. And so this is where you guys have to be dedicated to making new habits and saying, and here's the sitting with the uncomfortable. This is you being with the uncomfortable, feeling like a fish out of water. Okay, well, I know for a fact through science that if we do something for 30 days or more, we totally create a new habit, a new cognitive pattern of recognition. Same for the horse, but you must put the time in until that uncomfortable, well, what was comfortable, which is unhealthy, the new comfort overrides that old comfortable feeling. So the old comfortable feeling would be the negative talk. This is just really scary. I don't want to trigger myself. I don't want to trigger my horse. It's too overpowering. It's too overwhelming. I won't know what to do. I'm not skilled enough. I don't know enough. And I'm here to say, stop. Pick up that lesson, analyze the steps and the building blocks, and do it, and do it, and do it. And you're going to do it with breath work. You're going to do it with the breath work. And it's going to feel awful. And you're going to feel like you're drowning. That's okay. Keep doing it until it resets your nervous system. That is the number one thing. Most people aren't even looking at the art of lunging in this program. They're barely touching it. And it's fascinating to me, and it's upsetting to me, for the lack of a better word, because you're missing the key component to training, because 98% of our horses are untrainable. They can get to a certain point, but then they hit so many triggers. And pressure is trigger stacking for horses. Just pressure is trigger stacking. That is mind blowing for you all, but most horses are absolutely afraid of pressure. Pressure in the form of intention, pressure in the form of rhythmic pressure, pressure in the form of steady touching pressure. Horses are, just because we've damaged them, they fear it because they've been punished and hit. It's been such a negative experience. So I'm here to tell you, yeah, what are some of the takeaways today? We can use some of the language as long as we just use it in the context of, you're going to force yourself. You're going to make it happen. You're going to fake it till you make it. What does that really mean? To me, when I say fake it till you make it, it means until the muscle memory takes over. Even though it feels awkward and it feels horrible, and I get more people telling me, I don't know how to handle the lunge whip, I'm not going to use it. No, you have to use the lunge whip. That is the only tool I want you to use in the beginning. You've got to use it. It's an extension of you. It's going to help you. It's going to help you connect to your horse. It's going to help the biomechanics of the horse moving correctly. You've got to use the lunge whip, not the carrot stick, not the handy stick, not the dressage whip, and not the carriage whip. Got to use that length right now for all the right reasons. And especially for fly fishing and hugging and connecting with your horse that way. So if it's awkward, you've got the videos in there. You've got target practice. Here, do this. Do this in front of the mirror. Work with yourself in front of the mirror before you work with the horse. I highly recommend that. That's a really great tip. You can put my lesson, whether it's on your phone, download you can get the whole, program. You can download the app on your phone from the platform, watch the lesson on your phone or your iPad or your laptop, and here you are in front of the mirror. And you must do this with the Dallas reverse breath work, because 100% of the time, when I get to work with you guys in person and I see you and I feel you with my hands doing the Dallas reverse breath work, you've got maybe 50% of it correct. There's so much tension in your body, and you need to look at yourself to bring that level of awareness that, wow, this doesn't look anything like Caroline, and it needs to. And I'm saying that just this one time, you need to really look at the grace and the flow and the flexibility and the poise that's in my body. You can't have that if you're tense. You can only have that if you've been breathing in oxygen, which naturally releases tension. That's the science of the Taoist reversed breath. Let's talk about this real quick and make it as simple as possible. Why is it the Taoist reversed breath? So everybody at home, I want you to pay attention to how you breathe in and how you exhale. What happens to your diaphragm and your stomach when you breathe in? Everybody breathe in. What happens to your stomach when you breathe in? You inhale. Naturally.
Yeah. Well,
When you,
stomach, it's a belly breath.
Well, hold on, but most people, if you don't know anything about the Dallas reverse breath work or you've never done it, when you breathe in, inhale, you suck your stomach in. And when you exhale, you relax like you just saw me, and you push your stomach out. That's the way we breathe. Now, the reverse breath is you're going to inhale and push your stomach and your diaphragm out. Right. You're filling your torso with breath, with oxygen, which naturally releases tension. And 99% of you, when you work with me, so I can put my eyes and my hands on you, you're stuck, man. Your abs are so tight. Whether it's trauma, trapped emotion, or just tension, not to mention the tension that we hold in our shoulders. And for most of you, I'm sitting here and I'm going to do the breath work. You all, when you breathe in, you go here. That's not how you breathe in. Watch my diaphragm. Watch my chest. Watch my chest. When I go to breathe in, you just saw my stomach expand. And now when I exhale, I pull it in. When I breathe in, all you see is my chest expand and my stomach expand. And when I exhale, I breathe in. So I'm doing the opposite of how we are taught or how we unconsciously breathe. This is a very conscious way of breathing and releasing trapped emotions and stress and rewiring the nervous system, because you are creating relaxation in your body. You are producing endorphin. You are producing the dopamine, eventually the dopamine effect. So it's so key to incorporating this breath work and doing it until it becomes second nature, doing it until you don't have to think about it anymore. And that brings me real quick to another question that everybody has is, how do I know I'm ready to move on? And you're ready to move on when you don't have to think about what you're doing, when you and your horse naturally do it. When your horse sees you and they come to you, or you just need a little, or smile, or I love you. You don't have to go through da 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 X, Y, and Z. Okay. So then you're ready. You're ready to move on to the next. We've got plenty of time, Sherry.
Well, and I was going to say what you're talking about here to me in one of your first tips in your blog. Let's dive into that a little bit. The nuances for what you're doing, paying attention to the nuances of what you're doing. What I love about what you talked about is embodied awareness. It's interesting because I need the coach for me, and yet when I'm coaching others, I can see, but I need your eyes to see me. But when I'm coaching others, I can see when they're not breathing, and I have done some equine therapy sessions for addiction recovery programs. And one of the first things that we do is this breathing. Now, the nuance of knowing and seeing and feeling that in your body, you can tell that people don't know how to breathe. Or if I'm having them with the horses, just grooming. I mean, again, I'm not teaching a horsemanship program like you, but it's this awareness of where we are in the flow. And I think, is that what you're talking about with these nuances
Yes.
of what you're doing?
Air conditioning back on. Yes. Awareness of where you are in the flow. Hold on for a second. Oh, come on. Give me 1 sec.
Sure.
No, come on. There we go. Awareness of where you are in the flow. You can focus on that, but I think that's too much. I just want you to be aware of the subtlety of your horse, you. Oh, so this is my subtlety, the nuances mean getting into your senses. So, here we get into the first 4 chakras, but I want to know how you feel in your body. What do you smell? What do you see when you're engaged in connecting to your horse? What do you see? What do you see in your horse? What do you feel in you? Those are the subtleties I want you to pay attention to. It's not so much the flow. I don't want you to worry about finding a flow. That'll all come. So many of you guys, you especially with the analytical mind, you're hardwired to think of all of these goals and objectives. You're hardwired about objectives. I got to find the flow. You really are looking at this in a very complicated way, and it is complicated. But I don't want you to think about the flow. The flow will come when you're relaxed, when you're breathing correctly, when you're present. That'll slow you down enough where you will get into the flow. The flow is to me an end result. So you
Okay.
have all these exercises to help you find flow, but flow is the objective. But I don't want you to focus on flow. Flow will happen when all of these other things happen first. Does that make sense?
So, yes. Okay. So thank you for that Thank you for that clarity on what the nuances of what you're doing, paying attention to how do I feel in my
Am I
body? What am I
grounded? Can I
seeing?
feel my
Am
feet when
I
I'm
grounded?
standing? Yeah. How does
Yeah.
the weight feel in my hand? How does my horse, most of all, how's my horse showing up for me?
Hmm.
If
That's
I'm in,
that present moment, that present moment awareness. So I'm not thinking about what we did yesterday or what we're going to do tomorrow. I'm present, and that's what I'm paying attention to.
correct. So let's say
So,
you're focusing on teaching your horse how to back away from you the way I teach it. And it doesn't matter if it was, what happened yesterday or what you want to happen tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you just keep working on focusing on the nuances of what you're asking your horse to do and how your horse shows up. How do you show up? Just keep focusing on that. It'll work itself out. That's why I keep calling my program organic. It's designed to naturally work. Everything will come together, but you have to trust the process. And you do have to make sure, like the breath work, that's the number one thing. That's the number one thing that most people don't do, or they don't do it correctly.
mm,
And,
gotcha.
yeah,
So, so I love that. And then focusing on the right thing. I mean, focusing on what's going right for you and not on the mistake or what you
yes,
feel
thank you.
is,
Yes.
yeah.
What's the positive? So, and that's really hard because you are really rewiring yourself because we're taught or we're conditioned to it should look like this. It should look like this. And everybody focuses on, well, it's got to look like Caroline. Well, I'm the master, okay? I didn't get here overnight. My God, you guys, what the hell? Be realistic and stop freaking sabotaging yourself. I
Man,
I don't go
I'm
into
so,
learning like that. I don't, when I'm taking instruction, I'm not even that bad. Like I'm overzealous because I can't wait to learn. And I practice this enough. I'll be fair. Sorry. I practice this enough that I go in with a better mindset. So you guys got to teach yourselves this.
I love that you brought that up, Carolyn. You're hitting me on a nail right on the head because
Everybody though, I think everybody, you're
I
just
gotta compare myself with
courageous
everybody.
enough. You
And
can't compare yourself to me. And
if
you
I
can't,
can't be Caroline, I would have been, I'm not worth it. You know what I mean? It's so
yes, I do.
here we go with this self-worth thing and the comparison. The perfectionist is really self-doubt.
It is.
It's
It's
not
self-esteem
that
oriented.
it's
It is.
self-esteem.
It is
Exactly.
totally self-esteem. I was waiting to get to that. You want to aspire to be like me. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like I want to aspire to be like whoever I'm admiring right now in my field. You want to aspire to that. That's a healthy. It's a healthy goal if you get to it. If you get to it. But if you don't get to being like Caroline or certified underneath the method, you need to get to where you're happy with who you are and where you are. It is a self-esteem issue.
Yeah. And it's really difficult. It's definitely a rewiring for people in my situation because I mean I'm 62, going to be 63. I'm looking at my life having gone in a course that was very different than when I was 8 years old, and when somebody said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" and I wanted to be a horse trainer. Well, I'm very far from being able to do that. And at 63, I'm not going to be starting over in that. So learning how to
I'm going to
be,
stop you right now because that's way too much self-sabotage. I'm going to stop you right there and listen to me. Number one, I don't give a flying rat's ass how old you are. You can do anybody. We are more revered in this industry as a horse trainer the older we get. The older we get, the better we get. You want to know why? Because it's called wisdom. Nobody can take that away from you, Sherry. You're one of the most intelligent women I know. And I told you that. I always tell you that. I think you are amazing. I love the way your mind works. You are amazing at all of you, at anything you believe you can do. And I want you to believe it with love. I want you to be excited about it, man. As my as my husband says, if you ain't excited, you ain't invited. Find that excitement. You love horses. You want to do this. You joined this program to learn to be the best you can be. And you will. Don't ever let yourself or anyone take that away from you. So everything you learn, you can give to someone else. Right there, everything you learn, all of you, you can give that knowledge to someone else. You are doing it. You are doing it.
Oh, thank you.
And I appreciate getting older. I know what it's like getting older. What am I going to, how am I going to do this the rest of my life? That's why I've turned so much of all of my experience to online in all of these different forms, from podcasts to webinars to courses, because of arthritis, because I can't handle the injuries anymore. I am burnt out. I don't want to be rehabilitating horses anymore. I want to teach you all how it feels to feel better within yourself and to help your horse feel better. So
Thank you. Oh
it's
my
a
gosh.
30-day challenge. It's a 30-day challenge, all of you. Do it for 30 days. Do the breath work for 30 days. All day throughout your day. When you get up, when you go to bed, remember, set a timer on your phone. Make yourself do it. Go out there and just take the breath work to your horse. Remember that success story with Freya. Remember, you didn't do anything. It's how you showed up. It's the internal changes
Mhm.
within your mind and in your heart and in your nervous system that made all the difference to this traumatized horse. And that's for all of you to follow Sherry's example. You've got to stop following what's been normalized out there, where all of these horse trainers are teaching you to go after it, make the horse do what you want, flood them, desensitize them. It's not. I love mechanics as much as the next person. I'm a working equitation certified instructor. I'm doing dressage. I'm teaching my horses the PI. I love it, but not at the expense of my horse suffering
Mm.
mentally, emotionally, or physically, and not at the expense of me beating myself up. I know what that's like. I've been there. But my desire, as I've written in that blog, my desire to not be stuck in the old Caroline. I didn't want to be that person anymore. It didn't serve me well. So you get to that point where you get angry in a good way, where you say, I'm not going there anymore. I'm not going to take it out on myself anymore. Treat yourself like you would treat the wounded child that you are trying to help. That wounded
Mm.
child is within you. It's within all of us. That was one of the most profound things that was given to me when I was in therapy, coming out of this, these panic attacks. And I had this wonderful therapist for the last 2 years of high school. And that was one of the other major things that she impressed upon me was, and I was too young to really understand. So I'm going to, like, 10 years later, it really hit me when I was ready, in my 20s were you hurt? Take care of that hurt. You can't
Mm.
really help anyone until you take care of that hurt. Y'all are getting stuck because you're hurting. So, how would you love that hurt inside of you? That hurt inside of you is a being that needs to get released. But sometimes we have to release it by acknowledging it and loving it and giving it what it never received before.
Thank you. The validation
I've
of,
been there. And then I've been there. I've done the work. I had to do the work again. I just went through another dark side of shedding. I love to talk about it like shedding my skin, like stepping out of an old skin. But it was just
Mhm.
hard to step out of this old way of being. I came, a couple years ago with everything happening, and it put me into another space and place within myself that I had to take a really deep look at. And it shocked me because I was like, I didn't know that this is what I needed and that this was going to be so hard.
Mm. Mm.
This was, you get to a place where you're like, I thought I did all that work.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh
There's
yes,
more work
that's
to do.
there's more. I was like, I was like, I did all that. I plowed that ground. I should
Holy
be over
shit.
that. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Well, and those shoulds, right? We should be over it instead of and then we
But we
judge
need
ourselves.
support. We need support. I try to tell
Mhm.
you guys what's going on. Like, so I don't share it immediately because I'm very private and professional. And I'm not gonna, share all that shit that was going on for a couple of years, but I will now because I can share it in a healthy way. And I feel better about, in a way that I can help others that are going through
Mhm.
that. So here's our support community.
Mhm.
We need that support. It was one of the reasons why when I developed this program, you can't do it alone. This is advanced work. You need my eyes on you. You need me. You need to feel my horses. You need to always work with a horse that knows more than your horses because they will show you what that feels like. Because we get stuck working with the horse we had yesterday and we forget that those horses change too. And we
Mhm.
forget that I'll never forget who told me that. It was so powerful. And I can't remember which instructor said, Caroline, work with the horse you have today, not the horse you had yesterday. And I went, huh?
Mhm.
What are you talking about? They're like, that horse isn't the same, but you're so stuck, in trying to fix it or make it better or learn or grow or change it. And the horse is there and now you're still here. So it really helped me riding or working with horses that were much more advanced than me and my horses at the time because it's like an aha moment. You go, oh my God, this is what it should feel like. And you can watch it all you want, but when you experience it, you see it differently.
Mhm.
See it much differently when you personally experience that change or that different horse. Um, so I'm trying to pull together some new levels of certification with the program for all of you to get you guys back working with me and me really helping to guide you and give you something back. I mean, there's a lot you get back working in the program. You personally get a lot back, and so does your horse. But you know, I really want you guys to be able to work towards something, kind of like a new goal that helps to motivate you by receiving a level of certification. So look for that coming soon for the new
Oh, that's
year.
exciting. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm excited about
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I am too. It's been a long time. And it's just
Well,
hard to, yeah.
and I love, Caroline, that you just pulled me out of that whole cycle of going, oh my gosh, I'll never get there and I'm too old or whatever. To say, no, let's focus on, I wouldn't be who I am today and be able to share what I can share today had I not been through what I've been through. And it's programs like this that can give me a structure and a container. It's another word that you use in your coaching, a container and a place where all of that wisdom and all of that experience can be brought into a structured approach to
Yes.
what internally we know and we've learned and we haven't actually found the outward expression of that. And you are allowing us the opportunity to bring our that to an outer expression of that inner wisdom. And I love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the container. Think of your lessons as a container. It's kind of I think that's a difficult thing to conceptualize, but I do say that often, like I say, the round pen is your structure in which to work, the environment in which to work in, because it's so conducive. But your lessons, if it's lunging, that is a container. What happens in that space? What
Mhm.
happens in that space between you and your horse is an open conversation. It should always be an open conversation. So one of the things I want to leave you with, and we're not done yet, but we're going to wrap up soon. I want to leave you with, especially Sherry, is remember my three principles when you first start the program. I talk a lot about joining, especially in your tutorial, the written workbook material. I talk a lot about the three levels of join up. And this is your I don't know what you want to call it, your Bible. This is every day. So every time I'm in the presence of horses, my own horses, I walk out my office and they're right here. Where are my three levels of join up? If I don't have 3 levels of join up, then everything I do is about 3 levels of join up. The exercise is just a container to help. And while you're getting those 3 levels of join up, you're also obviously learning mechanics. There's something very structured that is happening, such as the backing, such as ascending, such as whatever you're teaching your horse. So the 3 levels of join up are the heart, the mind, and the body. And the heart is, how does that show up in your horse? And I walk you through in the tutorial what that should look like. And this is going to become a video that I'm going to create in December to add. And I know I talk about it throughout the spirituality course, but I really want to make it stand alone. So how does the heart show up? When the horse hugs you, leans into you, gives you their heart chakra, wants to be with you. How does the mind show up? And the horse is focused on you. 2 eyes and 2 ears, asking a question, not sure, asking a question, interested, focused on you. That's the mind. And the body is hooked on you. The body doesn't leave you. And so, that's everything, right? I mean,
Yeah,
in and of itself, it's euphoria. To feel
absolutely.
that connection, the horse wants you. And so whether you have trauma or a wild horse, you're always working on that. Like how can I get the horse to open up to me, receive me, connect with me? And a lot of times it takes months because their nervous system is so fractured that they're in self-preservation mode. So like I said, you can love on them all you want and they could still be here completely tense, shut down. So you got to get them moving. You got to get them into the art of lunging. You got to get them to work through that adrenaline until they can feel safe enough to release the endorphin. And the only way to do that is through movement. And the only way to do that is through my art of lunging. You must understand the process. And that's how we start to rewire. And there's science behind all of it. We've been talking about the science of all of that. Is there anything else, my dear? Because I prayed out 10 pages. There's so much.
Well, I have two things I wanted to get. One of the things with my and he's not new anymore with me, but when I was in your program and after I had lost the horses I was working with your program, and we talked about the assessment and being aware of where the horse is, and Romeo was an endurance horse and a performing horse, and a lot like me in those ways of gotta go, gotta control, there's always something being asked of me, I gotta perform. Yes. And I can remember watching one of your YouTubes on your assessment of a Frisian horse that was very traumatized.
Mateo.
And
might have been another one.
I think it was before you had Mateo. It was it wasn't at your place. It was another clinic you were doing somewhere, and I can't remember. But it struck me how you simply wanted to show up and allow. You weren't asking anything of him, just assessing him. And I did that with Romeo, and I could see his trauma because I wasn't asking him to perform anything. And it was like
you were present. Saw him for who he was, not where you wanted him to be.
I was just trying to be present, and he was like doing the thing. Do you want me to go this way? Do you want me to go that way? So when you start talking about the 3 levels of join up, it was so great to have that foundation with you, because I could see his progression through. Oh, you're not asking me. Oh, that adrenaline, I can let go of that. Oh, it's not about performance. And his head would start going down and he'd start getting lower, and pretty soon his mind could relax and his body could relax. And then by the time he could come into the center and just put his head down and lick his lips and just stand with me. But for us performance types, that's what I guess what I'm saying is that's what I can observe happening to us when we get into that trigger of, oh, I have to perform. Oh, I need to do this. And I love how you're programming the process. This is the trust of the process that I just wanted to emphasize that's been a real help to me to really just enter into that trusting of that process and realizing that I'm gonna, bring that body, mind, heart join up within myself as well
Yes, that's
as
your
I
heart
do this.
awareness. That is where you are strengthening the compassion for this horse. And that leads me beautifully to self-compassion. In Taoism, it's the ability to allow and go with the flow. So here we go back to switching gears, all of you, to having self-compassion. You have compassion for the horse. Why don't you have self-compassion for yourself? Give that to yourself. Take that time to slow things down and be in those moments and enjoy those moments. And you do.
Mm.
Every time you're there, they're astounding for you, for all of you. You enjoy those moments. You just got to make them a habit now.
Yeah, that habit of showing up for ourselves with that compassion and that love and that grace. I love that you use that. And so, and then the other thing I wanted to bring up for my, what helped me when you first reached out to me about this podcast, and I was with my grandkids in Indiana, and I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and the 6-year-old Nora, she loves to draw pictures. And we love and we give grace to our children. They're drawing pictures and painting all the time. And oh, look at this wonderful portrait of our family that I drew. And there's you, and there's mom, and there's dad, and there's Emery, and there's the dog, and there's the sun, and this child's picture. And you look at that with your heart and you're going, that, I'm going to cry. That's
No.
a masterpiece.
Yes.
And it's this child's picture. And we were talking once, she's starting first grade and starting to get graded in first
Oh,
grade, if you
here we
can
go.
imagine.
Yeah.
So I can see in her that inner child in all of us that gets traumatized by, oh no, now you're going to grade me, so I don't even want to try because I can't do it right. And I'm seeing this child that has this natural, oh, I just want to express myself and look at this beautiful picture. And then we were talking about mistakes and trying to help her understand there is no such thing as a mistake. Just paint your picture. Just paint it. And I don't remember what the conversation was. Something else happened, and I'm talking to my daughter, and she says, Nora, I'm really sorry, to my grandchild, Nora, 6-year-old. I'm really sorry I made a mistake. And Nora said, no, Mom, you didn't make a mistake. There are no such things as mistakes. And then she says, and besides, mistakes are when you're painting and you make a splat. And my heart just, I mean, if you can imagine that our experiential life is, let's paint the painting and we're
Yes.
going to make splats.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. There you go. That summed up everything. That was beautiful.
Out of the mouths of my grandchild, out of the mouths of babes.
That's
Right?
perfect. Yes, your horsemanship is your painting. Your
Yeah.
life is your painting. Enjoy it.
And paint. Oh my gosh, do your picture, paint. Don't be paralyzed by the idea that you might go outside the lines or you might have a splat.
Yeah.
That's what we are here to do, is to paint our masterpiece and give
Yes.
ourselves the grace and go, oh, that's so beautiful. We
Yes.
could have that kind of love for our inner child as we do our grandkids.
Yes. Yes. I want you to feel that love every time you're with your horse. Those expectations need to just get put somewhere. Don't have any expectations. Just enjoy that moment. You'll get there. You have my linear program, which is also very non-linear, but you have the structure. You have the exercises. You have the mechanics. It's changing your brain on how you, in your heart, how you approach those mechanics.
Yes, it's a beautiful opportunity you give us the strokes. You give us the strokes that we can put onto the
I give
canvas
you
of our
permission
lives.
to make whatever stroke you want. Any stroke, any color, anything. It's an expression of you and where you are. And that's the learning journey. That's what makes the program so personal for everyone. Even though you're all learning the same things, it's your personal journey into yourself with your horse. As your co-facilitator, as your partner, as your teacher, your best friend, your soulmate, your spirit guide, the only one you trust, perhaps.
Well, I love the palette that you give us, Caroline. I love your program, and I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart that you
Not
are
making me cry.
re-engaging me. Well, you're
It's
re-engaging
great to see you
me.
back. It's great to see you back, my friend. I'm so
Mhm.
glad you're back. I know what it's like when life gets in the way. But you got to take care of yourself now. You know, now you're coming back to you. You deserve this. You deserve this. It's time for you and your horses. You've been doing some really amazing things this year. I think you did an expo, you know, you've been doing some really awesome things. And everything, including today, everything is learning, and you are able to add this to your repertoire, to your horsemanship, to your coaching, to your, you know, the experiential therapy, coaching.
Oh, well, and I'm gonna definitely look into your um program in terms, and we talked about this before, that I I may not have the full program, but the understanding the foundational work to work with the humans that are working with their horses, to give them the understanding, the experience that, oh, this is what it feels like to breathe and relax and have connection. And even if it can be a micro moment, and I've learned this from the anchored,
Remember your experience with Freya. Just think
right.
how valuable that is for the horse and the human to be able to connect in that moment. And it just changes. It's like time stands still, and then you're forever changed after that.
Yes. It's a
You're forever.
transformational program.
Yes,
Your
it is.
program
Yeah.
is
Well, you have
transformational.
the full
So,
program. Everybody has the full program. It's just over the years, I've added things like it's more expensive, but you get X, Y, and Z with it, other courses with it. But you have access to the full curriculum. Oh my
mhm.
gosh, yeah. And it's a big one. So yeah, this has been just amazing. We can always have do more. I think there's so many key things that we talked about. It's definitely worth a re-listen and a revisit for you all, and take notes. There's some key takeaways here. Um,
And
and
I love
then
your blog. And if people can go to your blog as well, and I post it on my own Facebook page and on my website, links to your blog.
thanks.
Um, yes, it's wonderful. Um, and I guess what I'm hearing too is that one of your tips on there is just to act, to do it. And I think a big takeaway for me today, Caroline, is that I need to get excited about this, and I need to get that energy going, that movement going, just to act, just to paint the painting.
Okay, well, hold on now. I agree, but now you're getting locked into that. I need to get excited. And the excitement, I'm a rehab specialist. When I'm rehabilitating horses, they ain't excited. I'm not excited.
Okay.
No, it takes a while. So your
Oh,
language, it's almost like reprogramming you right now,
okay.
reprogramming you. You will become excited. What I want is that you're not afraid of the hard work right now, or the pain, or the
Mm,
vulnerability. This is called working through. These are my
mm,
words as a therapist. These are working through. You've got to work through. You can't, we're not here to deal with it. We're not here to handle it. We're not here to manage it. We're here
mm,
to work through it and release it. You can't release pain. You can't release trauma. You can't reset the nervous system unless you actually work through it.
mm,
And while you're
mm,
working through it, you need a coach. I'm the horse's coach. So I can see what's going on, and I can help guide them through that process, give them the support that they need. So you guys, you can't do this alone. You have this wonderful program. I get it. but it's an apprenticeship program. It is advanced horsemanship, but it's starting a beginner or an advanced person. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to come in at the same level because what I'm teaching and how I'm teaching it is going to be new for everyone. Doesn't matter how experienced you are. I don't care if you're in a, believe me, I've been there. I've rid Olympic dressage horses. I don't ever want to ride that again. I don't ever want to feel that again. It was horrifying. The amount of contact and pressure and pulling on me. So without going down that rabbit hole, I'm always available for coaching. I'm going to be doing a free Q&A webinar. I do it every quarter for our students. It's a free give back to you all in November. And I think you saw that on the Facebook page. But, don't hesitate to set up a 30-minute coaching. Even if we only use 10 minutes of it, we reserve the other 20 whenever you need it. Caroline, I just need to hear this. Hey, can you take a look at this video and just give me quick feedback? What happens is if you keep doing it the wrong way, then that's what you believe is the right way. You need help right now. Their rehab horses come to me for rehabilitation. They can't do it on their own. So you're not here to make things you're not here to I've got to find the flow. I've got to find the excitement. All those things will come. You got to do the hard work right now, though, to really be able to experience the freedom of releasing and letting all of that go. Tremendous freedom, including the freedom of self-sabotage.
I love that you're reminding me that it's the rehabilitation from the self-sabotage.
Before training. Always. That was in my webinar last night. It's just, I still feel like maybe 1% got it. It's such a hard topic because it's so against what's being normalized in our industry for humans and horses. It's like, wow. Anyway, it's a whole nother podcast, but yes. So think about all of this. You've got this podcast as a loving, gentle, and firm reminder. Take notes when you listen to this again. Take notes if you haven't already for yourself, all of you, and make them your mantra. I remember when Jessica, she was on here, I don't know if Jess is still listening, but Jess created this beautiful, I shared it with all of you, this beautiful graphic montage of my sayingisms, Caroline's sayings, not all of them. And I should revisit that. But she has it. She had it printed out and has it in her tack room in her barn. But that's her mantra. She sees these every day, and it's a nice, gentle. Man, I should come up with that. I'm gonna write that down, Jess. we gotta get that out there. Yeah, a collage, of sayings that help support you because it is a mental mind fuck that we go through, and you got to pull yourself out of it. And now it's got to be a beautiful mental mindset that replaces this messing with ourselves constantly. Yeah, ain't got no time for that anymore. We ain't getting any younger. That's right. That's where the pressure's on. I want to start enjoying my life, damn it.
Right.
Who do I want to join with?
Oh, yes. Well, I feel what I'm feeling is the validation for that child inside of us that needs to know it's okay that it's uncomfortable.
And you're going to help. You're going to take care of it. You're going to love this wounded child just like you would your wounded horse, the wounded people that come to you, your own children, your grandchildren. Why don't you give that back to yourself? Well, it's easy. I know why, because it wasn't given to us to begin with. So why should we give it to ourselves?
Yeah.
So that's something that you've got to work through and make that happen. Make it happen. Make it happen. Self-compassion. Everything begins from the inside out. And it's a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. We are there is no such thing as perfection. So embrace that. Embrace that. It's not an excuse. It just is what it is.
progress, it's just progress every
Not
day,
perfection. Work
not
on
perfection.
progress, not perfection. There is no such
Right.
thing as perfection. That is a fallacy to control us, to control us. It's another mind fuck. It's to control us.
Mhm.
There's lots of them out there in society. Lots of manipulation, lots of greed, lots of insecurity, and lots of ego.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
disappointing. Yeah. Where's the joy? Come on, we got to
Oh,
support each other.
the joy of the process, the joy of the process, and the joy of stretching ourselves, not overwhelming ourselves,
Yes.
stretching our nervous
Like
system,
the
but not
horse.
tipping.
Yes.
Exactly. Don't
Yes.
tip
Yes.
ourselves over the threshold of tolerance and allow ourselves to know, oh, I need to stretch. I need to grow.
And
This is an
that's too much.
opportunity. I can
That's too
enjoy
much.
this,
Yes.
but not over the threshold.
Yes. Treat
Um,
yourself like you would the horse. There's your compassion. Absolutely.
mhm.
Oh, big time. Big time. I learned that. Legend taught me that one. Yes. Oh, yes. My humble.
Our Arabians. Mm.
Yes, they are so. Oh my God. Yeah. There he is behind me.
He's
Always looking
beautiful.
over me. Yep. With those big nostrils.
Yeah.
All right. Did we cover everything you wanted to cover, my dear?
Yes, very much. Thank
Let me
you.
see. I'm looking at questions. There's Jess. She's still here. Awesome. So we've got quite a few people on here. This is great. We've had about 10 people watching us um
That's
consistently.
wonderful.
Yeah, and there'll be so much more when we share this with Facebook and then it gets out there in the podcast. I'll let you know how it does. Um, so I think is Leah your daughter?
Yes.
Leah? Oh, I love it. Yep, she's on here. Hi, Leah.
And then my sister Lori might have tuned in a little bit, but
Okay.
Leah
Um,
is
Yep, and Kelly
Nora's
Hoffman,
mom.
she's like, Sherry, you are awesome. I'm also a former military and perfectionism is real. I battle it on a daily basis. Yeah, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. And we will be in touch. So yeah, if you need kind of a restart in the program, you know, give me a shout.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Caroline, for all you
you're
do
welcome.
and what you did for me today. I
Oh, my
appreciate it and I'm grateful.
I am grateful for you and I appreciate it too. Oh, thank you. There's a new table of contents. Okay. I just updated that. So print that out because it's so much easier to follow in the program. And I went in and outlined all of the lessons in course number 2 that were not outlined. So now you know what you're looking for, the titles or the topics. So yeah, so familiarize yourself with that. Okay, thanks, Jess. I hope it was inspiring and Lori said it was amazing. Thank you. We're here to help. This is our community, right? Yeah. Okay, I lost you, Sherry. Where's your
Oh,
voice?
I'm still
There you go.
here.
Oh, you're
I'm
good. You're
still
good.
here.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And I probably won't do another podcast until the first of the year. So everybody
Oh, so
happy
have
holiday.
a happy Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year.
Yes, yes. Well, hopefully we'll be in touch throughout that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You too, hun. All right. Well,
All
thank you
right.
for this
Take
podcast.
care.
Thank you. Bye.